This episode details disturbing accounts of an individual passing, false emergency calls, police involvement, which can be emotionally distressing. Viewer discretion is advised during this episode. He should have been celebrating life, his 39th birthday, another year of survival, success, and growth. But instead, on March 28th, Atlanta rapper Young Scooter, born Kenneth Edward Bailey, lost his life under shocking and heartbreaking circumstances that have left fans devastated, a community grieving, and a family in pain. But this wasn't just a tragic accident. It was the result of a deadly lie. A false 911 call, a swatting incident, and in the chaos that followed, a man bled out, alone in the shadows, while police searched the wrong narrative, while social media ran wild with half-truths and headlines, while the person who made that call, Demetria Spence, sat behind a phone, spinning a story that never existed. And now, a son, a father, a voice in Atlanta's trap music legacy is gone. This episode isn't about gossip. This is about accountability. It's about how false narratives can cost people their lives, how carelessly picking up a phone or chasing clout can turn into blood on someone's hands, how systems, when manipulated, can become weapons, and how Black men, like Young Scooter, often pay the ultimate price before the truth has a chance to catch up. So today, we're going to honor him by telling the full story. What really happened that night, what we now know about the hoax that led to his death, and the bigger questions we need to be asking about misinformation, police response, and the very real consequences of lies. Because this isn't just Young Scooter's story. It's a mirror. Before we get into the full story, I want to ask you to pause for a moment and do what matters. Like this episode, comment below with your thoughts, your prayers, or your memories if Young Scooter's music touched your life. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss these vital, real-world conversations.
Check. Check 1, check 2, check.
Here on Life Points with Ronda, we don't just chase headlines, we uncover the heart of the story. And I need you with me, helping spread truth, compassion, and accountability. Because real lives are at stake. And the more we know, the better we do. Welcome back, beautiful souls. You're listening to Life Points with Ronda.
Check.
The space where we break down life's hardest moments, the stories behind the headlines, and the soul-level lessons that help us grow, heal, and evolve. I'm your host, Ronda, and today, my heart is heavy as we shine a light on the life and sudden passing of Atlanta rapper Young Scooter, a man whose talent, resilience, and authenticity left a lasting imprint on the trap music scene and beyond. This isn't just about fame or music, it's about how one false report and a careless lie set off a chain of events that ended with a man bleeding out alone on his birthday. It's about how quickly misinformation becomes dangerous. It's about how easily lives can be taken when systems are abused. And it's about the truth, the whole truth. Because that's what his legacy and his family deserve. So let's start from the beginning. Let's talk about who young Scooter was. Not just in the music, but in the world. And let's unpack exactly what happened on the night of March 28th, when a tragic hoax turned fatal. Before the headlines, before the tragedy, before the lies that tried to define his last moments, young Scooter was a voice of the streets, a storyteller, a survivor, and one of the most authentic contributors to Atlanta's trap music legacy. Born Kenneth Edward Bailey in South Carolina and raised in Atlanta, Scooter wasn't a rapper who chased fame. He rapped because his life demanded it. His music wasn't polished pop. It was raw, real, and rooted in experience. He came up alongside some of Atlanta's biggest names, most notably Gucci Mane, who became both a mentor and frequent collaborator. With projects like Street Lottery, Jug Season, and 80s Baby, Scooter carved out his own lane, bringing listeners deep into the grind, the hustle, and the high-risk, high-reward reality of life in the trap. His lyrics weren't for show, they were for survival. And people felt that. Whether you were riding through Bankhead or streaming from another city, you could hear his truth. And that's why this loss hit so hard. Scooter wasn't just a rapper. He was a father, a friend, and a respected figure in his community. He stayed close to his roots, remained independent in his artistry, and never pretended to be anything other than who he was. His fans loved him for that. His peers respected him for that. So when unexpected RIP posts began circulating online, many were confused, but no one took it lightly. People wanted answers. And what they got was a nightmare that never should have happened. Because, as we now know, Scooter didn't leave the earth from natural causes. He didn't overdose. He didn't fall victim to street violence. He passed trying to escape a situation built on a false emergency call, a situation that should never have occurred in the first place. March 28th, 2025, young Scooter's 39th birthday, a day that should have been filled with love, music, and celebration, instead became the scene of a chaotic and tragic series of events that would lead to his untimely passing. It all started with a 911 call placed to Atlanta police. On that call, a woman, later identified as 31-year-old Demetria Spence, falsely reported that a man was assaulting a woman inside a home on William Nye Drive, Essie. She claimed there had been gunfire and that a woman was being dragged back into a house against her will. On the surface, it sounded like a serious domestic violence emergency, but it was all a lie. When police arrived at the scene, they were responding to what they believed was a life-threatening hostage situation. Officers announced their presence and attempted to make contact. A man briefly opened the door, then quickly closed it. That moment, though brief, triggered their protocol. Officers established a perimeter. Backup arrived. Tension filled the air. And in the middle of it all, young Scooter. According to police reports, Scooter and another individual attempted to flee the property. One person ran back inside, but Scooter kept going. He scaled 2 fences in an attempt to escape, likely unaware of what was happening or why officers were there in the first place. In the process, he suffered a catastrophic injury, a deep, penetrating wound to his upper right thigh, likely from a broken wooden fence or debris as he ran. The wound caused significant blood loss. He collapsed, and by the time paramedics arrived and rushed him to Grady Marcus Trauma Center, it was too late. Young Scooter was pronounced unalived shortly after arrival. He passed on the day he was born. He passed because someone thought making a false call was acceptable. He passed running from a situation built on fiction. Let me make this clear. No shots were fired by police. The Fulton County Medical Examiner confirmed that Scooter was not shot. He was not assaulted. He was not attacked by police. His passing was ruled accidental, caused by the injury sustained while fleeing what he believed was danger. But what caused him to run in the first place? That fear didn't come from nowhere. It came from a lifetime of understanding what happens when police show up with sirens and guns drawn, especially for Black men, especially when the situation is unclear. That's what swatting does. That's the real danger of false emergency calls. And let's call this what it is. Swatting is a form of domestic terrorism. It's not a joke. It's not a prank. It's not just trolling. It's using the police as a weapon. And in young Scooter's case, it became a weapon that cost him his life. The woman responsible, Demetria Spence, has since been arrested and charged with transmitting a false public alarm. Authorities confirmed there was no woman in distress, no gunshots, and no evidence to support anything she reported. The entire emergency was manufactured, but the damage was very, very real. As news broke of a police presence at a residence connected to young Scooter, the internet did what it so often does. It reacted before it understood. And that reaction, it turned a tragedy into chaos. Moments after the incident hit the local news, R.I.P. young Scooter started trending across platforms, Instagram pages, YouTube channels, and gossip blogs posted tribute videos, some with blurred details, others with bold headlines that weren't even accurate. TikToks flooded timelines with dramatic soundtracks and candlelit photos. Fans were shocked, confused, and in many cases, misled. As news broke of a police presence at a residence connected to young Scooter, the internet did what it so often does. It reacted before it understood. And that reaction, it turned a tragedy into chaos. Moments after the incident hit the local news, R.I.P. young Scooter started trending across platforms, Instagram pages, YouTube channels, and gossip blogs posted tribute videos, some with blurred details, others with bold headlines that weren't even accurate. TikToks flooded timelines with dramatic soundtracks and candlelit photos. Fans were shocked, confused, and in many cases, misled. Some posts claimed Scooter had been shot by police. Others alleged it was a setup. Some even floated conspiracy theories within hours of his death. Now pause for a second and think about this. His family hadn't even made a statement yet. His children hadn't been given a moment to process the news. His team was still trying to piece together what happened. And already, the digital world had created a narrative, not out of truth, but out of assumption, not out of care, but out of clicks. This is the dark side of internet culture. The cloud economy has created an environment where being first is valued more than being right, where tragedy becomes content, where someone's death becomes just another trending topic. And for those who knew and loved young Scooter, for his fans, his peers, his family, this made grieving 10 times harder. Imagine seeing a false headline before you get the call. Imagine mourning in public while people dissect your loved one's final moments like they're part of a TV show. And for those who knew and loved young Scooter, for his fans, his peers, his family, this made grieving 10 times harder. Imagine seeing a false headline before you get the call. Imagine mourning in public while people dissect your loved one's final moments like they're part of a TV show. This is what happens when we forget that real lives are behind real names. Young Scooter was not just a story. He was a human being, and his legacy deserves accuracy, respect, and dignity. It's also important to note, despite the outpouring of public grief, some use this moment to troll, to spread lies, to stir up confusion, and even to push their own agendas. That's not just wrong, it's harmful. It re-traumatizes the people who are already in pain. It distracts from the real issue. A man lost his life because of a lie. Thankfully, his team, along with official sources, worked quickly to clarify what actually happened. And while clarity brings some peace, it doesn't bring him back. What we're left with is a community in mourning and a wake-up call that we must do better. We must protect the truth, especially in moments of tragedy, because the way we treat someone in death says everything about how we valued them in life. Now that the truth is out, and we've walked through the facts of what happened to young Scooter, I want us to pause and breathe, because this is where the real work begins. As we always say here on Life Points with Ronda, there's a lesson in everything, even in the most painful moments. Now that the truth is out, and we've walked through the facts of what happened to young Scooter, I want us to pause and breathe, because this is where the real work begins. As we always say here on Life Points with Ronda, there's a lesson in everything, even in the most painful moments. First life point. Swatting is not a prank. It's a weapon. This tragedy isn't just about one bad decision. It's about an entire culture that's normalized using emergency services as a tool for attention, revenge, or clout. We've seen it happen to streamers, influencers, even school kids. But when it escalates, when lives are disrupted or destroyed, it becomes a form of violence. It creates trauma. It can lead to death. And for young Scooter, that's exactly what it did. This isn't a prank gone wrong. This is a felony. a life-altering, irreversible act, and we need to treat it that way in both our legal systems and our conversations. Second life point. Misinformation online has real-world consequences. We live in a time when false narratives travel faster than the truth. All it takes is one tweet, one fake RIP post, one gossip blog with no journalistic integrity, and suddenly the world believes a lie. Second life point. Misinformation online has real-world consequences. We live in a time when false narratives travel faster than the truth. All it takes is one tweet, one fake RIP post, one gossip blog with no journalistic integrity, and suddenly the world believes a lie. It affects grieving families. It impacts legal investigations. It confuses communities. It even disrupts the dignity someone deserves in death. We have to stop chasing clout over clarity. Before you repost, ask yourself, is this verified? Is this helpful? Is this honoring someone's life or exploiting it? Third life point. The way we treat the dead reflects how we value the living. We mourn young Scooter not just because of how he died, but because of who he was. A man who rose from struggle, a man who told the truth through music, a man who built a life that meant something to his family and his fans. When someone passes, especially so tragically, we must protect their name. We must honor their legacy, not sensationalize their final moments. When someone passes, especially so tragically, we must protect their name. We must honor their legacy, not sensationalize their final moments. Whether you knew his music or not, his story matters. His life mattered, and what happened to him should never happen to anyone again. Now, more than ever, we need to pause before we post. We need to hold ourselves and others accountable. And we need to remember the value of life, especially in a world that scrolls past it too quickly. Because every time a story like this breaks, we are all called to rise higher, to think deeper, to do better. So, here we are, left with the heavy truth that a man lost his life not because of violence in the streets or an enemy with a weapon, but because of a lie told through a phone line in a culture that too often prioritizes chaos over compassion. So, here we are, left with the heavy truth that a man lost his life not because of violence in the streets or an enemy with a weapon, but because of a lie told through a phone line in a culture that too often prioritizes chaos over compassion. Young Scooter should still be here. He should have been blowing out candles, laughing with his people, and releasing new music into the world. Instead, his name became a hashtag. His life was reduced to a trending topic. And the worst part? It could have been prevented. Let this be the reminder we all need. Words carry power. Lies carry weight. And silence, when we see wrong, carries consequences. Let's honor young Scooter, not just in memory, but in action. Let's fight for systems that protect instead of punish. Let's hold each other to a higher standard online and off. And let's remember that truth, even when it's hard to look at, is always worth defending. Let's honor young Scooter, not just in memory, but in action. Let's fight for systems that protect instead of punish. Let's hold each other to a higher standard online and off. And let's remember that truth, even when it's hard to look at, is always worth defending. To the fans, to the family, and to the legacy of young Scooter, we see you, we hear you, we stand with you, and we will continue to speak your name in truth and power, not in rumor, not in speculation, but in respect. Final call to action. If this episode moved you, I ask you to do 3 things, like this episode, to help it reach others who need to hear the truth. Comment below with your favorite memory, lyric, or message for young Scooter's loved ones. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a conversation that matters. And share this episode, because facts need to travel faster than fiction. For more honest, healing, and hard conversations, follow me everywhere at Life Points with Ronda YouTube, Life Points with Ronda 968 podcast, Life Points with Ronda, available on all streaming platforms. Website, lifepointswithronda.com. Email, lifepointswithronda.gmail.com. Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok are Life Points with Ronda. Let's keep shining light in dark places. Let's keep speaking truth to power. And most of all, let's keep pointing our lives and our voices toward what's right. Until next time, spread truth, stand firm. Thank you for watching. If you found value in today's video, I invite you to take your journey even further with my podcast, Life Points with Ronda, where we dive deep into relationships, personal growth, and the wisdom that helps you thrive. Tune in on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and all major streaming platforms for powerful insights that can transform your life. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more uplifting content like this video, and share it with someone who needs to hear this message today. Stay connected with me on Instagram, Facebook, and Patreon. Life Points with Ronda. Visit my website at lifepointswithronda.com for exclusive content, coaching, and more. Thank you for your support. Until next time, take care and stay phenomenal.